Watch Brett.
What is up, GC Youth? I'm Eli Reese, and we're going to have a great night tonight on GC Youth Online. It's a real bummer that the rain kind of rained us out, but you know, rain is beautiful. God has his ways. We got one announcement right quick. We're gonna bring it inside to our little improv studio, but we have a movie night this Friday hosted by, I believe, Mr. Jim Beasley. We're going to have shaved ice there. We're going to have food and snacks. And it's going to be a great time, so make sure you be there. And now we are going to transition to our message by Mrs. Madison Brown, and she's going to deliver a great message tonight. So go ahead and come on here and welcome her on.
Hey GC Youth, what's up? My name is Madison Brown, and I just graduated from Northview High School. And this fall, I'm going to attend Auburn, and I am so sad that we cannot be in person together tonight, but I'm still so excited that we get to share this message online wherever y'all are watching from. So I want to start off by saying Happy Father's Day to all the dads who are watching, including mine who's here with me. And let's get started. So last week, Rocky spoke about how we live in a divided world. People take sides. We have two sides, and so many people take their stand on each side. But Jesus is the bridge, and we live in the messy middle that we are to help build that bridge, and Jesus is the bridge. So not much has changed in that last week. The world is still divided over so many things, some big and controversial, some smaller, almost everyday things that we don't think of as things that divide us. We have sports rivals, we have movies. Some people like Hallmark and rom-com, some people like action movies. We have different types of music that we all enjoy, and not much has changed in our world. We are allowed to have different opinions, we're allowed to have different ideas, and that's encouraged a lot of the time. So we all have our team. Like, everybody has their team, their school that they went to, their team that they cheer for all the time. And with that being said, that comes rivalries. When everybody's diehard fan for such team, there's rivalries. We have sports rivalries. Football, a big sport down here. We literally have a weekend for rivalry weekend. That is the Iron Bowl. We have Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, Clemson, South Carolina, Florida State. There's so many rival teams that we love to watch those games. And with everybody having that team, we all have rivalries, but everybody is human. So a couple years ago, Chick-fil-A aired a commercial that it was Florida State and Alabama, and they wanted to see kind of what happened. So an Alabama's fan's car had broken down on the way to the game, and they wanted to see if any rival fans would stop and help. So they tested it. It worked. So many FSU fans stopped and helped. Some of the questions were, what can we do to help? We're all humans. They were just so giving to help and help them get to the game. Then they reversed it to see if any Alabama fans would stop and help the Florida State fans. It went so well. For Alabama fans, one of my favorite things that one of the guys said was, we are all human. He put aside the game, he put aside the rivalries to say that we are all human. And it was awesome to see that even though people have rivalries, it's not the rivalries, we're all human. So with that, should humans put aside their differences to help one another? Well, God's greatest commandment is to love your God with all your heart, with all your strength, with all your mind, with all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. So God is calling us to love no matter our differences. But who is our neighbor? God tells the story of the Good Samaritan in response to an expert in religious law who asked the question, who is my neighbor? So go ahead and open your Bibles, if you have them, or pull out your phone, to Luke chapter 10, verse 30. We're going to read the parable of the Good Samaritan. So Jesus replied to a story. A Jewish man was traveling from Jerusalem down to Jericho, and he was attacked by bandits. Then they stripped him of his clothes, beat him up, and left him half dead beside the road. By chance, a priest came along, but when he saw the man lying there, he crossed to the other side of the road and passed him by. A temple assistant walked over and looked at him lying there, but he also passed by on the other side of the road. Then a despised Samaritan came along the way, and when he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. Going over to him, the Samaritan soothed his wounds with olive oil and wine and bandaged him. Then he put the man on his own donkey and took him to an inn, where he took care of him. The next day he handed the innkeeper 2 silver coins, telling him, "Take care of this man. If his bill runs higher than this, I'll pay you the next time I am here." With that, the Good Samaritan came and he basically dropped everything to help this man. So I know we've all probably heard this story so many times. I know I heard it so many times growing up as a little kid. It was one of the favorite Bible stories to get to hear because it was something that was positive and so happy. But to put it in a little bit of a different light, in today's society, we hear the Good Samaritan and think of it as an awesome person, somebody who does so good, and we do say that. But back in biblical times, a Samaritan was somebody who they weren't liked. They were seen as outcasts. They weren't liked in society. And that was because they were half Jew, half Gentile. They did not have a side to stand on. They were not full Jew. They were not full Gentile. They were kind of stuck in that messy middle. Samaritan people were created when the Assyrians overtook northern Israel, and they intermarried with the Jews who were still living there. So the Jews who were still living there were full Jew, and the Assyrians were full Gentile. And a Gentile is anybody who is not Jewish. So in a lot of times, a lot of us today would be considered Gentiles. But when they intermarried, they were no longer full Jews and accepted by the Jewish community, and they were no longer full Gentiles. So they were stuck in that messy middle. And the relationships between the Jew and the Samaritan, it was not a good relationship. It was a very hostile relationship. It was nothing like our sports rivalries today. It was way more hostile, and it was more like a feud or any hostile relationship that you can think of. And in present day times like this, there's so many relationships that are divided in our world. We have so many relationships. One of the most prevalent right now is race and skin color. It's dividing our world right now. But there's so many other things. Language divides people. The cultures and customs that people live by, the history and values that they all divide people. And in the story, the priest and the temple assistant, also in some versions say a Levite, who is a high-ranking Jewish member in the society, they all passed by on the other side of the road. But the Samaritan, who was not supposed to help him, he, by societal standards, should have walked the other way. He should have walked to the other side, just like the priest and the Levite. But he saw the man beaten on the side of the road and he showed him compassion. And society probably should have stopped him, but he didn't care what society thought. He defied the barriers and created his own way of thinking to help this man and show him compassion. He did not stop and ask questions, but he immediately went and helped because he saw the man in need who needed help. And at the very end of the story, Jesus asks the man, "Now, which of these 3 people would you say was a neighbor to the man who attacked him?" And the expert in religious law replied, "The man who showed mercy." And that was the Good Samaritan, the Samaritan who showed mercy, because the priest and Levite did not. They continued to walk right by. And at the end, Jesus responds with, "Yes, now go and do the same." Why? Why did Jesus tell this story? I think Jesus told this story because there's so much division in our world, and it still is so relative today. Jesus wants us to change the way we think about showing mercy to our neighbors. We show mercy to whoever, and our neighbor is anybody in the world. It's not just our literal neighbor, the person next door, or the person across the street. It is anybody that we come in contact with. So if we're going to live in the messy middle, then we have to be willing to serve everybody, including those who look different than us, those who act different, those who live in different places, those in different social statuses, those with different beliefs. Anybody who is different from us, we have to be willing to serve them. Romans 12, verse 7 and 8 calls us to use our gifts we are given. Romans 12, 7 and 8 says, "If your gift is serving others, then serve them well. If you're a teacher, teach well. If your gift is to encourage others, be encouraging. If it is giving, give generously. If God has given you leadership ability, take the responsibility seriously. And if you have a gift of showing kindness to others, do that gladly." So God has given each of us gifts, but that doesn't mean those are the only people who can use those gifts. The people with the gift of kindness, that doesn't mean those are the only people who can show kindness. So many people can show kindness. You can show kindness to anybody. Those with leadership ability, that does not mean they are the only people who can be leaders. And those with the gift of service, they are not the only ones who can serve. Anybody and everybody can serve. when I was younger, probably middle school, sometimes still today, there were times where I didn't want to serve, whether it was because I had to get up early or I was just honestly, human beings are lazy. We can all be lazy at times. Whether I didn't know where to serve, there's so many reasons why people choose not to serve. But as I got older, it became something that I still did, but it became something that I enjoyed to do. For me personally, it was I love serving with little kids. So the joy on their face when they get to learn something new or experience something is just so joyful in my life. So serving became something that I not only had to do, but something that I wanted to do and looked forward to doing each week. We love because God loved us. We show mercy because of the mercy God showed to others. We serve because God served, because of how God served. So there's still so many reasons why people don't serve, ranging from human beings are lazy to they don't think they have time. Well, if you don't want to get up and early and serve, or if you don't think you have time, I empathize with you. I've been there. But there are so many different ways to serve that don't involve getting up early in the morning. You don't always have to serve in the morning. If you don't want to get up, find somewhere to serve, whether it's in the afternoon and night. It doesn't have to be in the morning. Not all service events are in the mornings. A lot of them are, but you can find somewhere to serve that's not. So Romans 12:11 says says never be lazy, but work hard and serve the Lord enthusiastically. So instead of saying you don't want to serve because you don't have somewhere to serve because you don't want to get up early, find somewhere to serve. But if you have an event or something going on, don't skip it. Don't fear on missing out of it. But when you're there, be there and ask to serve. Say, hey, what can I do to help? How can I help? Go find whoever's in charge if it's a smaller event and say, what do you need help with? Do you need help setting up, cleaning up? Serving is not signing up for something. It's being willing to help and being willing to show kindness and help others. So with that being said, you don't want to miss out on an event, but still don't fear on missing out on something because as long as we have Christ, we miss out on nothing. Because Christ is so much better than anything that we could ever do in the earthly world that we aren't actually missing out on anything, even if you have to miss an event. And if you believe you don't have time to serve, then use wherever you are or whatever you're doing to serve. If you're at sports practice, maybe it's you go ask your coach and say, hey, what can I do to serve? What can I do to help? If you're at baseball practice, maybe it's picking up all the baseballs and putting them in the bucket after you get a drill without being asked. If you are at an event, go say, what can I do to help? If it's youth night and you see everybody stacking chairs, maybe you help stack chairs. And if you know you're going to be at church, maybe you find a way to get involved there. Wherever you are, if you just ask and say, what can I do to help? Somebody will usually respond and say, that's awesome. Here's something you can do. And if you don't think you have time, a lot of us have busy schedules, and I understand that, but make the time. So start scheduling time. Say, this Saturday from 10 to 12, I'm going to serve here. And do that on a regular basis until it becomes something that you do naturally, that you want to do. I promise you, if you schedule something, it becomes habit. So if you schedule it enough and do it enough, it'll become something that you look forward to doing, and it'll become easier. It'll become, I want to go, I want to do this. And then for those who think they're too young, you're never too young to serve. You might have to start small, or you might have to actually, there are some places that have age restrictions, but that's not because they don't want you to serve. That's for safety reasons. So it might be you have to start small or start at a different place, but you can always serve. You're never too young to help people. You're never too young to start somewhere, whether it's holding the door or just helping a friend at school. And if you don't know where to start serving, then find somewhere you're passionate about. Find your gifts and your passions and use them to serve. If you love animals, then find somewhere like the ASPCA to go serve, or anywhere that involves animals where you know you get to help animals. If you love sports, maybe it's you're at practice and you see one of your teammates needs help. Go see if you can help them. Your teammates, you can help. Or if you're coach, if coach is like a second team or maybe a rec team, you can always volunteer to help coach a team. There's so many different ways to get involved. And church is not the only place that you can serve. There are so many places outside of church that you can serve. But it is a great place to start if you have absolutely no idea where to start. And coming up at GC, we do have a few ways. Even this week, we have a really easy one coming up that has no age restriction. It's going to be super fun. Eli's going to talk a little bit more about it after this, but it is going to be super easy, any age, so there's no age restriction on that one. And there are millions of ways to get involved, millions of different people who need to be served, and millions of different ways to serve. And as long as you're serving and doing it to glorify God, it doesn't matter where you serve. When you serve, you should not see yourself as better than the person you're serving or better than those who you're serving with. You are equal. All humans are equal in the eyes of God. Nobody's better than one of the other. And you're all equal in the playing field of you're all doing it to serve a common goal of serving God. So Romans 12:13, we are told about hospitality. But God's people in need, be ready to help them, always be eager to practice hospitality. Hospitality in the Christian world is the same as in the world. It's the definition from dictionary.com is the friendly reception and treatment of guests and strangers. Anybody can be hospitable towards another person. It literally means being friendly to somebody. And we serve because we are called as disciples and followers of Christ, but also because when we serve somebody, we get to see how we help them, and we get to know that we helped them, but also we show them the love of Christ. We may never know that impact that one actually could have on them, but it could be such a big impact on their life, and you may never know it. So I want to invite the other apprentices up to share on camera to share some ways that they serve. I'll start, but while they're getting up here, I started serving as a Girl Scout in elementary school. That was one of my things. I loved Girl Scouts. We always got to serve for different ways, camping, working with little kids. That was one of my favorites. So I love working with kids.
Let's see, when I was in 6th grade, I started serving here as a small group leader, helping just start with the kindergarten group and moved up slowly. But also as I got into high school more, certain clubs that I joined gave me more opportunities to go. I tutor kids at middle schools, just for anything that they need help in, and I found like a lot of fun and joy in that, and that's been a lot of fun for me.
Now, I don't serve anywhere, but I always make sure if I go anywhere that's not my home or is my home that I make sure I ask constantly and have the brain on to ask what I can do to help. And I also love like surprising my parents with like doing the dishes for them or like cleaning up the house when they weren't expecting it. Yeah, and then like I'm also a leader of dance, which is fun. So I always make sure I'm like really take care of the little kids and make sure they feel loved by the older kids, because I know that was so important to me when I was little.
One of the great ways I'm sure you all know I like to serve is through the GC Tech team. That's always been a pleasure of mine, just being tech savvy and learning how to help make youth nights happen. That's always been such a joy to me, and kind of being behind the scenes and seeing the smiling faces in the crowd when the lyric video plays or the message, I guess, atmosphere is just right. That's always been a pleasure of mine. So yeah, serving is big good.
Thank you guys. Serving, there are so many ways to get involved and get started if you've never started. There's so many ways at GC. There's so many places just in our community or at school. There's so many groups. So if you notice, we all kind of have our different ways that we serve and our different interests, because that's all because we have different passions and God gives everybody different gifts. So if you don't know where to start, you can always come talk to one of us at youth night. If you like tech, go maybe talk to Eli. If you love dance and arts, each of us have different passions, so you can always come talk to one of us about it. But imagine if everybody who is watching right now helped one person do, even if it's opening the door, and that one person is like, I loved somebody being so kind to me, and they did it to one more person. It can cause a chain reaction. It's kind of like when you hold the door for somebody, they hold the door for the next person. Or if you're in line and the car in front of you pays for your meal, you kind of pay for the next one, and it causes a chain reaction. It's the chain reactions. God can do so much with one simple act of kindness. And the numbers that could be helped if we all did some one small act of kindness is amazing. And it's just us showing the love of Christ. So we need to serve no matter the differences. Just like the Good Samaritan, he didn't care that societal standards told him he should not help this Jewish man on the side of the road. And it doesn't matter where we serve as long as we're serving. So I want to leave you guys with show mercy and serve everybody. It doesn't matter who or where or when, as long as you're serving, that's really all that matters. And you show mercy to those around you. So at this point, I want to call up Eli to talk about some announcements for the upcoming week. Okay.
Hello, everybody. This is going to be kind of the ending announcement to GC Online tonight. This is a serving opportunity that's coming up very soon. It's to help others practice showing just love to others, and it's going to be called Front Porch Ministry. And this is just going to be going to homes to show people we care for them. Some of the people who may feel more isolated, just giving them people to have a conversation with and encouraging those folks. If this is a way you want to serve, we're going to be sending out a link very soon, probably most likely tonight, and it'll be on Remind, Instagram, and also email. Just fill out a simple Google form. You can sign up, and if that's a way you'd like to serve, I highly recommend doing that. Thank you all so much for being with us tonight on GC Online. Hope you enjoyed. This should turn into a video afterwards, so if you didn't get some of the parts of the message, you can always rewind. Thank y'all so much for tuning in, and y'all have a great night.